What's up guys, DuArktik here with another Marvel Strike Force video, and in this video we're going to talk about dark promotion credits. We're going to talk about the best dark promotion credits for you to invest, so you have a long-term investment throughout the game. We're going to talk about what are the factors that give increased value to characters with dark promotion credits and which characters you should prioritize. We're going to take a look at a tier list and see exactly which characters you should be focusing on your dark promotion credits, especially now that dark promotion credits are finally farmable. So with the new Red Star campaign, the Red Star basic orbs became somewhat farmable, and that means that to some degree you can farm dark promotion credits in the trade-off of energy or power core. So we're gonna also talk about that, and as always, if you like the information on these videos, make sure you share it with your friends on Facebook and Discord. If you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe for more Marvel Strike Force content, and make sure you smash that like button like a boss. Okay, so we're gonna talk about dark promotions, how you can farm dark promotions, how you can obtain them overall, at least at this point, October 3rd. And we're going to talk about the mechanics of the characters that benefit more out of Red Star. So we're going to try to make all of this in a 20 minutes video. So let's get started. Okay, so dark promotion credits is how you upgrade special characters that you can obtain throughout the game. Some of these characters are legendary, that are part of the Horsemen, which is unlocked for Apocalypse. Other characters are part of Dark Dimension, and other characters are just fun characters that Scopely decided to make available in the game, and also requiring dark promotion credits. Okay, so the main way of getting dark promotion credits, you can get dark promotion credits or through Red Star orbs that you can obtain, or through logins, or also through special events that you have throughout the week that show up like 2 or 3 times per week. Then we have also the Blitz that also gives you Red Star orbs, and you can open those Red Star orbs loot boxes to get dark promotion credits. And then we also have a special event that happens once a month, which is the Nowhere Heist event, where you can also obtain dark promotion credits. It happened last week, so it's not available now. So there are a few ways where you can obtain dark promotion credits, but it was not exactly farmable because you cannot repeat this process of obtaining these orbs. Now, with the implementation of the Incursion campaign, you can indeed farm Red Star basic orbs, and this will allow you to get dark promotion credits. Also, on these nodes, there is a very small chance, I think it's 1% or 2% chance of getting dark promotion credits. So once again, another way of you to getting these dark promotion credits and make them farmable. Of course, this is going to take a lot of time, but that's for a good reason. It's because these characters that use dark promotion credits are way better than any credits that we have before. So right now we have 16 characters that use dark promotion credits. We have 15 plus 1, and these characters, once again, they become available very rarely. Right now we have the 15 that you see on the screen, and we also have Zombie Juggernaut that is coming to the game very soon, and is also going to require dark promotion credits according to the envoys and the developers, supposedly subject to change. Okay, so if we have these characters available, which are the characters you should prioritize on investing your dark promotion credits on? Are all the characters on the same price? No, it's not the case. The difference of the prices is quite big between some characters and others, and some of these characters are extremely outdated, and you should not even consider putting Red Stars on them. Okay, so let's talk about the mechanics of the game that benefit the most of Red Stars. So first off, we're going to talk about piercing damage, we're going to talk about barrier, we're going to talk about drain, and those are going to be some of the mechanics of the game that greatly increase the value of Red Stars. If the characters apply negative effects, if the characters apply bleeds, that also increases the benefits of Red Stars. And if a character is a summoner, that also increases the benefit of red stars, because the stats of the minions or of the summons will be based off the original character. So having to all of this into consideration, when we are comparing two different characters, for example Nova to Black Cat, we can take a look at the normal damage that he does. So attack primary target for 400% normal damage, and that means that the damage will be blocked by armor. And this is something that devalues across time, because the more we go throughout the power creep of the game throughout the years, that means that characters that do normal damage, their damage will be devalued, and then you can only take a look at them for their utility for crowd control or for support. And this is the case with Nova. While Nova right now is a good character, he applies crowd control effects, he does a nice amount of damage. This amount of damage that he does will lose value throughout time, and when you compare him with another character like Black Cat, the difference is huge, because once again she applies piercing damage rather than normal damage. So that means that throughout time Black Cat will have way more utility than Nova. Other thing that we have to take into consideration is how many targets you are attacking at the same time. And in this regard, Nova has an advantage early on, because once again he's attacking multiple targets, but once again the armor will come into play, the defense up will come into play, and the damage of these characters and the value of the red stars will be diminished. And once again we are only going to evaluate their support and their crowd control effects, which Nova does a very good stun on turn 1, so he's still gonna have some value as long as he has focus. And the passive ability, or the ultimate ability, heals up and also gives deflect, so he doesn't need to have a lot of red stars for this. Now in terms of barrier is something that comes out of your health. So for example Nova, he also gives barrier, so the more yellow stars and red stars you have on him, the more barrier is going to give to everyone. So keep that in mind. It depends of some characters, because some characters give barrier based on their health and other characters give barrier based on the other character's health, so it might differ depending on which characters you are talking about. Okay, so we talked about Drain as well, and we talked about Bleeds as well. Drain is a conversion from the damage you do. It comes back to you as healing, so if you have 20% Drain and you do 100% and you do 100,000 damage, that means you are going to get back as health 20,000 health. And because of that, the more damage you do, well, the more healing you are going to receive, obviously, and this is why it's important to have additional red stars for these characters. And then there are a few variety of mechanics that we can talk about, but we'll be more broad in a second when we talk about each character more specifically. Okay, so that is the introduction of the mechanics of the game and why some characters benefit more of red stars and specifically dark promotion credits than other characters. Okay, so we're gonna talk about the characters as we see them right now, and then I'm gonna show you the tier list that in my opinion is the best option to invest on your characters in order for you to get the best value out of your dark promotion credits, and this is gonna be in terms of time. Also, I want to make sure that I mention that we are also going to talk about something that DuArktik has said in one of his videos, where he also suggested red stars or dark promotion credits for some of his characters, and I will tell you why I disagree with some of his opinions, and this is going to be based on play styles, and this is also going to be based on the meta right now, as some of the characters he recommended in the past, they no longer add a lot of value, and I would say that he even changed his opinion in some of these characters, because let's be honest, the value has been dropping off quite a lot with the characters and the current meta. Okay, so in terms of DuArktik, really quick, he recommends that you prioritize building up Apocalypse, Black Cat, Quicksilver, Archangel, then Red Hulk. I'm not sure if they're in any specific order or not, but I don't think it is on a specific order, but there are a few characters right here in the middle that in the current meta right now, their value is dropping very, very fast, and I would not recommend them as good investments. Then we have the continue of his recommendations. We have Red Hulk and Archangel here. I would definitely not invest in these characters, and I'm gonna tell you why in a second. And finally, we have his last recommendations, where he talks about Spider-Man big time. Big no. We have Zombie Iron Man, big no as well. And once again, Red Hulk to 7. I don't think so. And even Doctor Doom can also be a mistake. Archangel to 7, this is another mistake, because it's not relevant enough in terms of the meta, or because the characters don't do enough damage, or because their utility is not necessary, or because their stats don't hold up anymore. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about why some of the characters don't hold up in terms of stats anymore. So Nova, as I mentioned, right now is pretty good, and while he's going to lose value in terms of the damage that he does, he's not going to lose value in terms of the crowd control and the barrier, the support that he gives. So this is definitely a character that you are fine with him at 5 red stars, and beyond that it's okay, but remember, the longer it goes, the less chances that you'll have to get red stars on this guy, so he's definitely not a priority. Now, in terms of Black Cat, it's a different story. She's a character that is like an assassin. We don't have assassins as class in this game, but she's the character that kills your enemies. She has drain, she has a lot of turning winds and negative effects to the enemies. She has bleeds, she has crowd control with her stun, and a lot of other effects that greatly benefit of having more damage and also having more focus and more health. The longer she's alive, the better. The more resistance she has, the better. The more she'll be alive, and so on. So it's going to be very, very important for you to get Black Cat at 7 red stars as fast as possible, especially because she's so important in all kinds of game modes. We have Arena, we have Cosmic Crucible, we have Alliance Wars, we have Tower, we have we also have you can use her in raids if you want. She's also very important for Blitz. So whichever value you put on her, it will last for a very long time. Okay, so in terms of the Horseman characters and Apocalypse, of course Apocalypse has to be the most important character where you get red stars, because he completely destroys the enemies. He has a lot of piercing damage, he also has a lot of negative effects, he also has a lot of drain. So because of that, the longer he's alive, the better. The bigger he is, the better. And this is why he should be your priority in terms of red stars as soon as they become available for Apocalypse. The second character is going to be Morgan Le Fay, because she's amazing. In my opinion, she's probably one of the best characters that was released. She does damage based on her health. With her special, she also heals up, she also has a lot of resistance, so the bigger she is, the better. She also spreads negative effects, and she also applies Disrupt and Slow to the enemies, Ability Block to controllers. So, I mean, she has so much utility that is just amazing. She has very low cooldown, she has very high stats, and she also drains her enemies. So, this healing that she has is based on the enemy stats, not on her own stats. So the red stars here are not going to influence, but overall it's important because if she can stay alive for a very long time. She also buries herself, so once again we have 3 or 4 factors that greatly give value to her and to her red stars, and this is why she should be your priority to the Horseman characters. Okay, so the other Horseman characters, Rogue, Red Hulk and Archangel, they are pretty much trash at this point. I would definitely not recommend to invest on them beyond 5 red stars. If there is any character that you could somewhat invest, it would be on Red Hulk, but I'm going to explain to you why Red Hulk is not that great of a character. While you have a lot of benefits of using his special to turn rewind the enemies, well, his turn rewind does not require red stars or focus or anything like that. Then the basic, the counter-attack chance that he has, it takes a very long time for him to have 5 charges to do the counter-attacks often enough. So many times the basic is not going to do that much damage. He does normal damage with the basic. His focus is decent, but flipping one positive effect is just not good enough in today's meta. And therefore the red stars are not going to benefit your Red Hulk a lot. Then we have the ultimate. The ultimate is a massive scam because the gamma radiation that he applies, all of these piercing damage that you see right here and the bleeds, This is not based on Red Hulk's stats, and the developers know this, but they don't want to fix it. So the damage that usually Red Hulk does is based on the enemy stats. It's a very complicated situation. You can search it out. I think DuArktik has a video explaining this situation, which is terrible. It's really terrible, because if the damage and the bleeds were based on his own stats, then yeah, you want to get Striker as a weight, Red Stars the max as possible. But because it's not the case, then there is very little value for his gamma radiation. In terms of the situation of flip all positive effects into negative effects, trauma for 2 turns, he'll block, he already gives himself extra focus, so you kinda don't require this. Okay, let's move on to his passive. His passive requires him to get attacked for him to charge up, to get block chance and to counterattack the enemies. He also has a nice healing on turn that benefits from the red stars. The problem is that he has so little health, 1.4 million for a Horseman character, 7 red stars, gear T 17, level 95. This is very, very low. So that's the biggest problem of Red Hulk, is that his abilities don't benefit a lot of red stars, and he's dependent on other characters in order for him to be good. So you always need to pair him up with Brawn and with Abomination, and you kinda also want to pair up Apocalypse with Red Hulk, because otherwise he doesn't have enough health to keep himself alive long enough for he to be relevant, which is allowing him to do his ultimate. Other problem with him is that many times the enemies or yourself, your character can get ignored, and because of that is not going to charge. So unfortunately, Red Hulk does not benefit red stars as much as other characters, because he can very much be easily ignored and is not going to have any impact to the match if he is ignored. This is why I use Skirmisher as weight on him as well, because I use him more for utility rather for the damage, because he does okay damage, but is not compared to the other characters. Okay, so in terms of Rogue and Archangel, the biggest problem with Rogue is that she has the special and the ultimate, and then she doesn't do anything for many turns. She has many turns of cooldown, which makes her completely irrelevant. She has the Gwenpool effect. If you guys don't know, like Gwenpool, she does the special and the ultimate, she's great, but then she doesn't do anything for 7 turns. And this is the same problem with Rogue. Her cooldowns are just too big for her to be relevant, and because of that, relying just on her basic to be relevant is not enough. She doesn't provide any kind of support to the team, and because of that, I mean, you can get the red stars to keep her alive, but it's not a good justification for her, and especially because her team is falling off the meta quite fast in all game modes, even Cosmic Crucible, the game mode they were made for. Okay, finally, on the Horseman, we have Archangel, and Archangel, you kinda like to have red stars on him, because every time he kills someone, he's going to give energy to your allies, if they are Dead Seed or Horsemen, but on top of that, you are also going to turn rewind the enemies by 10%. So, of course, the more enemies you can kill, the better. The problem is that the more red stars you put on him, it doesn't matter, because his damage is quite mediocre. So once again, you have a special with normal damage, and the more armor that the enemies have, the worse it gets. The basic is the same thing, it has bleeds, but the bleeds require the enemies to have their turn to take an effect. So once again, it's not gonna matter. And the ultimate, while it does piercing damage, it's single target only, and the 700% is not that impactful, and it only attacks one character, so it's going to be very hard for you to use Archangel to really benefit of this turn rewind. So the best benefit for Archangel is to use him against minions, and let's be honest, not that many people are using minions on defense, exactly because they know Archangel can benefit of this. So as you can see, the meta itself set it up that Archangel is not going to be good because of this factor, and the 5 red stars is good enough for him. So beyond that, beyond Morgan Le Fay, all the other horsemen, you can keep them at 5 red stars, because it's like the more stats you get for the cheapest price, and move on from that. Okay, now we're going to talk about the Dark Dimension characters. This one is going to be quite fast. So for Ultron, he summons minions. He does a lot of damage with his ultimate, and you really need this ultimate to kill, otherwise it's not going to be super beneficial to you. But unfortunately, this is a very expensive character. This is a character that does not have a lot of utility outside of Cosmic Crucible. So this is definitely something I should not prioritize. And once again, use Ultron for his utility rather than his damage, and you can get his utility from the minions and also the turning wind that he does in Cosmic Crucible whenever he uses the minions. So keep that in mind. This is definitely a character that if you don't have the 5 red stars from the event, you should definitely skip. Okay, Ultimus. Ultimus right now is outside of the meta. He has been outside of the meta for like 40 years. He has a decent kit, but he doesn't have the stats. So getting red stars on this guy right now in 2023 is absolutely pointless. So don't even consider that. Okay, Dr. Doom was the reward of Dark Dimension 4. Dr. Doom, he does okay damage with his special, but he also does normal damage. So once again, the more armor we have, the less damage he is going to do. So you should use Dr. Doom for his utility, which is giving 3 turns for whichever character has the most damage, and you should use his basic to flip positive effects and also to apply vulnerability to the enemies. So the best benefit for him is going to be using the skirmisher as a weight rather than having red stars. And Dr. Doom also has another problem, which is the bigger your Dr. Doom gets, the hardest will become to activate his passive, which is whenever it drops below 50%, whenever it drops below 50% health, he gets 50% speed bar and gains energy with that. So if your Dr. Doom is like 7 red stars, it might be very difficult for you to trigger his passive. So it really depends if you are a veteran player, if you are a top like 500 in Cosmic Crucible, or if you are like top 2000, you should have your Dr. Dooms at lower levels, so you can use him in different ways, which sometimes we talk about in the Cosmic Crucible videos. You should definitely check out. So yeah, Dr. Doom red stars, maybe 5, but even 5 it can cause you some problems. Just make sure that you use his skirmisher as a weight for utility rather than the damage. For Dormammu, like Dormammu is much better when it comes to benefit of red stars. He has a lot of resistance on his passive, so the more resistance you get on him, the better. He also requires focus for his special that stuns with trauma the enemies. This is extremely important, is a winning condition. His basic also does drain, which will keep him alive, and on top of that, the ultimate also heals himself and allies based on his own health. So the bigger your Dormammu is, the more benefits you're gonna get, and this is why my Dormammu is 7 red stars. Even that is somewhat expensive to gear up, is definitely one of the characters that are going to give you the most advantage, because his special is extremely important, and so is the ultimate. And if he's not alive, he's not gonna do these abilities that are extremely impactful, pretty much winning conditions. And the last character of the Dark Dimension is Dark Dimension 6, Super Scroll. This character right now does not have red stars, but he is insane. He gives barrier, he does negative effects like no other, he heals himself as well, he does all kinds of nonsensical damage. So the bigger you get him, the better he will become. And whenever the red stars for Super Scroll become available, this is definitely someone you should consider as one of your priorities. Between Super Scroll and Apocalypse, I would probably invest on Apocalypse first and Super Scroll second, because right now Super Scroll is just so overpowered that keeping Apocalypse alive might be more beneficial to you. But you guys can agree with, you guys can debate me in the comments below. Okay, now we have the last section of the Red Star promos, which is the war characters. We have Zombie Iron Man, which is not available yet. We have Zombie Iron Man, we have Zombie Juggernaut, which is not available yet. We have Quicksilver, and we have Spider-Man Big Time. Spider-Man Big Time, in my opinion, is the worst character to get red stars on. Even that he is somewhat not as expensive as other characters, his kit is just absolute dogshit garbage. He is Alliance Wars defense only. All of his abilities are locked behind Alliance Wars defense only. And he also requires other infestation characters for him to have any kind of relevancy. Now, you can use Spider-Man big time in Arena, in Cosmic Crucible, and so on. You can use him in many places, but this is for very, very top players that know exactly what they are doing. And for that, you actually don't need any red stars. Yellow stars is fine, and if yellow stars alone is not fine, you can give him the Skirmisher Isolate, which I have as an option, as you can see right here. And that's more than enough on him, because everything that he does, it does not rely on red stars. He does not have drain, he does not have barrier, he does not have piercing damage, he does not have like a ton of bleeds outside of Alliance Wars defense, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, let's move on to the Zombie Iron Man, and we can also talk about Zombie Juggernaut. These characters can be extremely powerful if you get them yellow stars and red stars. The problem is that these characters are not farmable. You cannot make them stronger with yellow stars, and because of that, it doesn't make any sense to get red stars on them. And based on the meta that we have right now, these characters are just too slow outside of Alliance Wars. So 109 speed, this is way too slow. So if even if you have these characters big enough, they might just be so slow that they are not relevant enough for what you are trying to do. A few months ago, he was quite relevant because there was a way of making him faster. Well, it's not the case anymore, and because of that, his value has dropped quite a lot. We might see in the future these zombie characters being better once again, Zombie Iron Man and Zombie Juggernaut, but it's just not the case right now. And we have the last character, which is Quicksilver, and Quicksilver is amazing. He's probably one of the best characters you can get dark promotion credits on and red stars on, not only because he does piercing damage with all of his abilities, he flips positive effects into negative effects, he applies very important negative effects to the enemies, he also removes charges, so for that is going to require for him to have some extra focus, he applies tons and tons of negative effects, vulnerabilities, all those things, he has additional survivability with evades, which is a mechanic that does not require red stars, but is something that can be beneficial, and he also heals himself on turn. And on top of that, he is also a summoner. He's going to summon his sister, Scarlet Witch, and once again, the bigger the summoner is, the bigger the minion or the summon is going to be as well, because one is based on the stats of the other. So, based on all these factors, Quicksilver is going to be one of the best options for you to get red stars on. Should be your priority right away. He is good enough at 5 red stars, but I would consider at some point getting him at 7 red stars because this character is so impactful and because his skit is very long lasting. And remember that this is what we are talking about right now. It's the investments that you can do to last as long as possible throughout the game and also bring you benefits in other game modes. Okay, so with this said, with everything explained, let's just take a look at the Red Stars tier list for Dark Promotion credits. Once again, this is my opinion, this is based on my playstyle. This is what I feel it's important for the future. And let's be honest, if I'm on top 200 of Cosmic Crucible with a moderate amount of spending, and I've competed with people that are like 20 million plus or 30 million plus, more TCP than me, I guess I'm doing something fine. My alliance is also very successful based on my recommendations, so I think what I'm giving you here is going to help you throughout the next 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years, whenever how much Marvel Strike Force lasts and how much you want to play this game. So top characters for you to invest right away: Apocalypse, we have Quicksilver, we have Black Cat, and we have Super Skrull. You should prioritize Apocalypse and Black Cat, then Quicksilver, and then Super Skrull. Then we have Morgan Le Fay. Once again, the fact that she has so much survivability, spreading negative effects, insane turn rewind mechanics that she does with enemies is just great. So the longer she's alive, the better. Then we have Dormammu and we have Nova. Once again, the longer these characters last, the better, because you don't want them to use just their special for the stun. You also want them to use their support abilities with healing, with the flags, with buffs, and so on. And for that, they need to be alive, otherwise you instantly lose the game. Then we have Red Hulk on C tier, and yeah, he's not low enough. Some people will say, oh, he's too low. No, he's not low enough. I would put him maybe even a little bit lower, but I think he's okay. Once again, Red Hulk is going to be 100% dependent on other characters for him to have value. So if you don't have those characters, he's going to be shafted, but at least for now in the meta, investing red stars on Red Hulk is still a decent option. And finally, we have the characters that the more red stars you put on them, you might not see any value at all, or it's going to cause you some problems. So Rogue Archangel and Ultron, they just don't do enough right now in the meta for them to be relevant. Very long cooldowns, the damage is not impactful enough, or you are not in a situation where their abilities are useful enough for you to use them. Doctor Doom, once again, the bigger he is, the more problematic it can be for you to use. Then you have Spider-Man Big Time, which doesn't matter how big he is, and Zombie Iron Man and Zombie Juggernaut. They are great in Alliance Wars, but outside of Alliance Wars they are not that great. And to be honest, they don't even need that much yellow stars or red stars to be relevant. Yes, they become better, yes, for sure, but it's not a priority. And finally, we have Ultimus, which once again, he has somewhat of a decent kit, but unfortunately, he just has the stats of 2019, and that's just not useful at all. You get zero of use out of him in today's meta. So that's going to be the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. The best characters for you to invest dark promotion credits right now, and last, the value for the future, especially right now that dark promotion credits are somewhat farmable. But you guys let me know in the comments below if you agree with my choices or not. And as always, if you like the information on these videos, make sure you share it with your friends on Facebook and Discord. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe for more Marvel Strike Force content, and I'll catch you guys later.